So as we saw from the previous video, an exception or a runtime error is thrown by this function whenever it fails to convert the user's input from initially being a string into being an integer. You get my point? So how can we catch that exception in order to display a good error message to the user? How can we capture it? You get my point? Because actually when that exception occurs, it comes with a certain message which is a bit confusing to the user. So you see, if I enter here H, if I press enter, do you see it? This is the message that comes. It says terminate called after throwing an instance of this, what, I don't know. Yeah, it's a very confusing message. So can we display a better message to the user? Okay, yeah, so let us see that. So how can we capture that exception ourselves? Okay, because it throws an exception. It throws a runtime error. Can we capture it? Can we catch it? So this is how to do it. Okay, whenever you have a function or whenever you have some statements that you think they might throw an exception inside programming, when you are doing programming, you can put those statements in a block called try. Okay, the block is called try. So if I think that this function might throw an exception when it fails, what I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it in a block called try. So I'm going to say, I want you to try this. You get it? I want you to try this. Okay? So we are going to try whether this function will succeed. If it succeeds, no problem. We are just going to save that value, that new value into what? Into our variable H. Okay? But if the function fails, what do you want to do? You want to catch that runtime error. You want to catch it. You want to capture it. Okay? So if you know the name of that runtime error, you can write that name there. Okay, but if you're not sure what is the exact name of that runtime error, no problem. You just write the word exception, because all runtime errors are known as exceptions. Okay, so you can just write exception. Okay, and once you write exception there, since that exception has been thrown, you can catch it and store it in a variable. Okay, you can catch it and you can catch that exception and store it in a variable. So you can do something like this. Okay, so this here, this E, do you see this letter E here? This is just a variable. You can give it any name. Okay, so I just declared it as E. Okay, so I'm going to cut that exception and store it in what? In my variable. Okay, then do you see that I made my variable here a reference variable? I used the ampersand symbol. Why? Because it is good practice in C++ and even in other programming languages. When you are catching exceptions, we catch them by reference. Okay, so that we can have full access to the original exception object that was thrown. By so doing, our programs become memory efficient, and also they become time saving, because those exceptions, when they are thrown with so much information that explains how they occurred, how that runtime error occurred, and so many details. So those details are too many to the point that if you are to pass them by value, your program will not be memory efficient. So this is good practice. Okay, always make your variable inside your catch block. Always make your variable to be a reference variable. Okay, so once you do that, it means when that exception will be thrown from here, you're going to capture it here. You're going to catch it down here. Once you catch it, you just want to display an error message, right? So you just want to say you entered an invalid. You entered an invalid number, you see, or an invalid input. Whatever is it that you want to say, you just put it there. Okay, that is your error message. Okay, and once you say that thing, what do you want to do? Do you want to terminate the program? If you want to terminate the program, then you can say return 0, or maybe you can say return 1, because your program actually it has terminated, but it has not terminated successfully. You get my point? So you can return any other value apart from 0. No problem. You get my point? Yeah. So here we are terminate the program. Okay, yeah. Do you remember I told you when we were discussing about functions, I told you whenever your function reaches a point where it executes a part called return, it means that function will stop right there. Whenever it executes a statement called return, it means that that particular function will stop immediately right there. Immediately right there. And that value will be what? It will be returned. You get my point? So it means execution will not continue downwards. No. Our function, whenever we catch that exception, any moment that exception has been captured, we are just going to display this message, and then our function will stop right here, and this value will be returned. You get my point? Yeah. Now, since this function is the main function, it means the function itself will be terminated, and also the program itself will do what? It will end. Why will it end? Because this is the main function. So if you terminate it, you are also eventually terminating the entire program. You get my point? Whenever you terminate the main function, the entire program also terminates, because that is the main. It is the main. Are we together, guys? All right. So let me test this. Let us see if this is working. Okay. So let us try to enter a wrong input. Let us press enter. You see it is displaying a better message. You entered an invalid input. This is our message. Do you remember this message? It is the message that we wrote. You see, and it says process returned 1. Perfect. That is the one which we returned. Thank you for listening. Now head over to the next video. I'm going to show you how can we make the user to enter again and again and again until when he finally enters a valid number. Let us see how to do that.